Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Welcome back to r/MaliciousCompliance, where you'll hear stories about people who follow instructions to the letter to spite somebody. My friends, in this episode, you'll hear 5 stories. You'll hear about Karens, a creative gift, couples using counterfeit cash, school dress codes, and how OP scores a month off of work. My friends, I do hope you enjoy the stories today, and do hit that subscribe button for future tales. Let's dive in. So, about a year ago, I was working at a local bagel place that made both breakfast and lunch sandwiches. So to set the scene, it's a Saturday afternoon and we're in between rushes. So this lady, who we'll call Karen, walks in asking for a takeout order that she's made online. My coworker on the register doesn't recognize her name and ends up going through the system to try to find it. After not finding it, my coworker asks her what her order was and tells her that we'll make it ASAP. Now, she gets angry and starts going off on my coworker about how she's incompetent and that she's placed the order earlier this morning and that she needs to be somewhere soon, and it must be in there. She apparently was in a hurry. My coworker goes through the register again, and again, no online order. They finally get Karen to place her order, and it's put on the line: tuna and chicken sandwich. Now, I get the misfortune of making the order, and Karen's watching me make the sandwich like a hawk inspecting a field mouse. She tells me that one of the bagels is not toasted enough and the other one was burnt, and they weren't. But I remade them anyway. The next part is really where she reaches peak Karen. Now, I was always trained to use one gloved hand to hold the bagel and an ungloved hand on the spreading knives. If I was handling meats or fish, it required 2 gloves, with the exception of tuna and chicken spread because you use knives with those. Anyway, Karen stops me midway through her order and tells me to put on another glove. A bit annoyed with how closely she was watching me and with how she treated my coworker, I say, "Oh, of course." I put on another glove and wiggle my fingers at her to show the gloved hand. I then go back to making her sandwiches. So I finish making them and go hand her the bag when she says, "Actually, I don't want those. Get me your manager." Now, at this point, I'm more than a bit angry. This Karen comes into the shop, is angry at us, the employees, because we didn't receive her order for some weird tech reason, tells me how to do my job, and then lets me complete 2 sandwiches before making me get my manager. So I go in the back, tell my manager that there's a Karen waiting for her, and then go back out with her. Now, I'm cleaning up nearby while my manager talks to her. Karen tells her that I was only using 1 glove and that I should be fired. To which she replies, "That's how I was trained and that's how the restaurants run. We've never had a health code citation for anything ever, and if she wants to look through the reports, she's more than welcome." To which the Karen backs down and says something about maybe wanting the sandwiches after all. Now here is where the malicious compliance comes in. I know that she was in a hurry to get somewhere, and her sandwiches are still on the counter. I pick them up, make dead eye contact with her, and then throw them away. My manager, not noticing I did this, turns to me and asks about the sandwiches. I smile and say I threw them away because Karen said she didn't want them, and that they'll have to be remade. My other coworker, the one that's been doing the dishes, comes out completely oblivious to the situation. I gave the order to him and warned him to use 2 gloves and tell him to take his time and make sure the order is perfect. My friends, I wonder if she placed her order at another bagel shop altogether. It sounds like something a Karen would do. Mix up the place of pickup, blame it on the employees to try to get compensation, and to get them fired. I'm prefacing this with the information that 1, my grandma has too much money. 2, my grandma has too much time. 3, my grandma has too big of a freezer. And 4, my grandma is petty as hell. Now, I have a cousin who's always wanted all sorts of interesting things for his birthday, and grandma loved that. She absolutely adored it. She gave me a blow-in-the-butt turtle ocarina once, and I love it. That should explain her gifting for you. Now, as he grew up, he was less and less inclined to entertain Grandma's whimsical ideas and started to request more mainstream presents. Grandma hated that, but still found ways to make them whimsical. You want a guitar? Okay, but it'll have hippie wood burning patterns on it. If you want bed sheets, sure thing, but they'll have tie-dye prints all over and be made of silk. If it was possible to make a gift whimsical, my grandma would do it. We all knew this and started to get awfully specific in what we requested until one year, he threw his hands up and said, "I don't know, I don't care, just give me cold, hard cash, nothing else." Now, that was a bad move, a very bad move. Grandma has chest freezers. the kind that are 4 feet deep, 4 feet across, and 12 feet long. Grandma also lives on a little foresty cottage plot, which means Grandma has access to all sorts of gardening tools and tinkers. So Grandma, being Grandma, found a big bucket, a ton of little plastic seed bags, and got to work. Cousin, of course, was very excited to finally get a normal gift and was grinning at Grandma, thinking that he had finally won the game. That is, until Grandma brings out a 2x2 by 2 foot squared ice cube full of cash. Now, it wasn't frozen together either. Oh no. Grandma had gotten creative and layered the ice gradually, freezing the cash solidly through the cube. The thing was icy white and oozing when brought into the room, and Grandma proudly announced that since he wanted cold, hard cash, she gave him exactly that. This madwoman froze the equivalent of $1,000 in the ice, and it wasn't just bills. Oh no. There were tiny coins and bigger coins and bills in little seed bags near the center. It took the block about a week to melt because my cousin's birthday is in January and his mother refused to let it melt in the house for the fear of water damage. So it just sat in the garage, slowly melting. Guys, I absolutely love Grandma's personality because I love unique and whimsical gifts. But I also understand that cash is king because who doesn't like cash? But waiting a week to get your hands on that cash, I don't know about that. I'd be out in the garage with that block of ice in a kiddie pool with hair dryers trying to get that to melt ASAP. So this happened about 7 years ago. I used to work in a store whose name sounds a lot like those cops that ride in planes. This particular day, I was on the register when a well-dressed guy and 3 women walk in. Each takes a cart and starts walking around picking things out. Now, I was known for my no BS attitude on the register. You throw money at me, give me attitude, whatever. I'll do it right back to ya. So when a coordinator comes to me 30 minutes later and asks me to take the dude and his girls to my register, I already know we're in for a fun time. They rolled up with these 3 carts full of clothes. And not just any stuff, we're talking shoes and boots that cost $300 to $800. Expensive handbags, coats, and more. I'm just there thinking, oh no. So they walk up and I start scanning all these while the ladies are being unpleasant. Finally I get through it all and the total comes to about $3,000, and the dude reaches into his fly coat and pulls out a wad of cash. All crisp $100 bills, and immediately I knew something was off. So I take the money and go to the machine and check it, and the first bill does not pass. Neither does the second one or the third. So I turn back around and tell the dude that I can't take the money. But before I can even get a chance to explain, one of the chicks cuts me off and tells me, take the money and do your damn job. So I say, you know what, you got it. Let me get the manager so he can help. See, at our discretion, we can decline any form of payment. But if we suspect you're using fake money, we gotta try to keep you there while we get the cops. So I get to my manager, cash in hand, and tell him what's up. He goes to the office and checks the money. Now, the dude is nervous, but just imagine his pants when 2 cops walk in and head straight for us. His horrified face made my day. The cops take my statement, and the next thing you know, 4 of them are getting arrested, while one of the ladies is screaming and cursing at me, while I tell her in the most innocent voice I can pull off, "But you told me to do my job." Oh my freaking goodness. So how the heck did they think they were gonna get away with using counterfeit money to pay $3 grand? I can understand slipping a fake $100 into a $1,000 purchase, but to pay it all with fake cash? They were just asking for trouble. So my job is very mentally taxing. I also have my own mental health issues, so I try my best to balance, but I just want to help, so I get caught up taking more responsibilities than I'm actually able to. So a couple of weeks ago, I realized that my mental health is in a steep decline. I was ignoring the signs to push through, but anybody with mental health issues know that you can only ignore the signs for so long. So I try to get ahead of my mental crash and talk to my supervisor and tell him that I need 3 days off, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. As I had the weekend off after the days I requested, I figured that might be enough to get good rest and reset. I did tell my supervisor why I needed the days off, which was burnout and mental health, and they said they understood and would get back to me. They contacted me back and said they can probably give me Wednesday, Thursday, but they couldn't give me Friday. I asked if we can do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday instead, and I could work the Friday. Since I'm having my long weekend, that should still be fine. They said that they'll get back to me, and I get a text soon after to ask me to help cover other shifts. And I obviously can't, so I decline. They get back to me the next day, and they said, "We can get your shifts covered for Wednesday and Thursday, but not Tuesday, and you have to make up the hours." So this was the last straw. I just broke. I was asking for a break because I was working too much because it was hard for me to say no. I even called them to explain even further why I need the days, as I've been going through trauma therapy and my mental health has been declining. I told them I had spoken to my doctor, and my doctor said I was showing signs of burnout and recommended some days off. So all they heard was doctor and said, "We need a doctor's note." Okay, fine. Good thing I have another appointment. I had to work that day, just defeated because they couldn't find anybody to cover my shift. I talked to my doctor, and he says he can tell I'm in distress and puts me on 2 weeks of leave immediately. They did not look pleased when I handed in my doctor's note. That was 2 weeks ago. I went back to the doctor, and he extended my leave for at least another month. Cause, the straw that broke the camel's back and my mental health just went down the drain. Oh, also, when I gave them my doctor's note with 4 weeks on it, one of them would not even look at me, and the other just said, "Oh, doctor's note, thanks." Man, some employers need to understand that people aren't machines. So I used to have to work 6 10-hour days a week for months on end because we were so busy at work. And I know what it's like to be burnt out from work. It got to the point where I felt like I was living at work. I'd come home, I'd eat, I'd sleep, and then repeat. It was pretty much mandatory overtime. The bosses pretty much ran us like slaves, and if you turned down coming in on a Saturday, they would find a reason to lay you off when things got slow, so it sucked. This did happen about 15 years ago, but I can't help snickering about it from time to time. In high school, I was a pretty mild-mannered kid. I came from a very strict household, and a call from the school was absolutely unacceptable. So, like I said, it was a strict household, and my outfits were closely inspected for modesty by my very conservative parents. If it passed at home, it wasn't gonna get me in trouble. I tried hard to fit in with the other kids though, and found out that wearing a layer underneath made regular outfits pass the home dress code. So I still got to wear the distressed jeans, but you could see the black leggings instead of my knees. So as trends were set, leggings became super popular. Finally, I was ahead and on point with my style. Some girls did begin to abuse the system though. School dress code required skirts to be no shorter than 3 inches above the knee. The standard was suddenly lots of tiny denim miniskirts with leggings, so the school cracked down and said leggings were no longer allowed under skirts. Of course, since I had different home rules, I didn't even own a skirt that short. My skirts had to reach the knees, which was 3 inches longer than the school requirement. So I get super cute, wearing my knee-length denim skirt and leggings. I pass the home inspection and head off to school. Now, nothing was said in my first 3 classes, but like I said, I was a good kid and always well covered. One of the super mean teachers, not even mine, spotted my skirt and leggings in the hall and grabbed me and marched me down to the office. I knew of the rule change, but I truly thought it wouldn't be such a big deal since I wasn't wearing a miniskirt. She shoved me in and yelled something about a dress code violation and left and returned to her class. I was called in thinking that the principal would laugh with me about her being silly, but boy was I wrong. He screamed up and down about how I was dressed inappropriately, and he said that he would be calling my parents to come get me to take me home to change. Oh no. No. As I stood and turned around showing him my clothes, I tried to argue that my skirt met the code and the leggings covered more. I even tried to explain that my parents would take it out on me in an aggressive manner. He was not going to hear any of it. I had to think fast and cue the malicious compliance. While he was still looking for numbers to call, I kicked off my shoes and began to wriggle the leggings down and off, right there in his office, right in front of him. Since my skirt was long enough, I shoved my pants in my bag and stated that now he has no reason to call my parents. I was fully compliant with the dress code of the school. As he stared with his mouth agape, I could see him turning red while trying to figure out how to deal with me. He ended up just saying, "Get out of my office. Get to class." I've never felt so relieved. My friends, and that brings us to another end of our /malicious compliance. If you guys enjoyed the stories today, do hit that thumbs up, and if you missed the last episode, OP's neighbor says that any ball that comes onto her yard belongs to her forever, and OP gets really, really petty about it. Check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you.